What if I told you that deep in Africa, there exists a creature so extraordinary that it challenges everything scientists know? A spider so massive it hunts antelopes, and so elusive it has become the stuff of nightmares and legends. In this world, there exists a category of creatures discovered by few, but never officially documented. We collectively call them unidentified mysterious animals. Welcome to our UMA video series, where the unknown becomes unforgettable. Today, we'll explore a mysterious creature from the Congo Basin, the J'ba FoFi. But unlike typical monster stories, this one comes with something compelling. Over 130 years of consistent sightings, detailed descriptions, and credible witnesses. Just another tall tale, you might say. Well, hold on to your seats, because this story is about to get very real. What happens when multiple people, across different times and places, all describe seeing the same impossible thing? Our story begins in 1890, deep in the African wilderness, where British missionary Arthur John Sims was about to have an encounter that would haunt him forever. Picture this. Sims and his team are making their way near Lake Malawi, Uganda. Just another day in the mission field. But then two of his porters stumble into something strange. An enormous web stretched between trees. Before anyone could react, something emerged from the shadows. A spider roughly 4 feet long. What happened next turned this curious discovery into a tragedy. Both men were bitten, and despite all efforts to save them, they succumbed to the spider's venom, their final hours marked by fever, swelling, and delirium. Now, if you thought one missionary's encounter was just a fluke, wait till you hear what happened in 1938. Picture this. Reginald Lloyd and his wife are driving through the Congo Basin, probably talking about their dinner plans, when suddenly, bam! What they thought was a large cat crossing the road turned out to be something straight out of their worst nightmares. A spider nearly 5 feet wide. And trust me, this isn't the kind of thing you'd mistake for your average house spider. But here's where it gets even more interesting. During World War II, reports started popping up like mushrooms after rain. An Australian soldier on the Kokoda Trail came face to face with what he described as a dog-sized black spider, lounging on a web spanning 30 feet. Now, imagine being that soldier. What would you do? Well, he chose violence. Killed it with his machete. Brave guy, I'll give him that. But surely, you're thinking, this is all ancient history, right? Well, hold on to your seats, because the sightings never stopped. In 2001, we got reports from Cameroon's Bakablo region. That same year, somehow one of these 8-legged giants apparently decided to take a European vacation, showing up in Nottingham, England of all places. Fast forward to 2013. This is where things get really interesting. Near a quiet watering hole in Mozambique, a night camera captured something that made even skeptical researchers scratch their heads. Now here's the million-dollar question. Could a spider this big actually exist? According to everything we know about biology, the answer should be a simple no. The current record holder, the Goliath bird-eater spider, measures just 28 centimeters across. Impressive, but nowhere near our 5-foot friend. So what's the problem? Well, it comes down to two main issues. First, there's the armor problem. Spiders wear their skeleton on the outside. That's what scientists call an exoskeleton. The bigger the spider gets, the heavier this armor becomes. It's like trying to run a marathon while wearing a suit of medieval armor. Not exactly practical. But that's not all. Dr. Rod Crawford from the Seattle Museum brings up another fascinating point. It's all about breathing. Spiders use something called book lungs and tiny tubes to breathe. Even if you made these organs bigger, they still wouldn't work as efficiently as what we mammals have got. It's like trying to breathe through a straw while running a marathon. Not ideal. But here's where it gets interesting. Remember when scientists proved bumblebees couldn't fly? The math said their wings were too small for their chubby bodies. Yet there they are, buzzing around, completely ignoring those calculations. And get this, scientists also said kangaroos shouldn't exist because their daily food intake couldn't possibly support all that jumping. Turns out they just developed super efficient leg muscles that work like springs. Nature. 1. Scientific assumptions. 0. Speaking of nature's workarounds, here's a cool fact. The largest arthropods, that's the family spiders belong to, actually live in the ocean. Why? Because water helps support their weight. It's like having a built-in anti-gravity system. And this is where the Congo Basin enters our story. We're talking about Earth's second-largest rainforest, a place so vast and mysterious it's like another world. This isn't just any forest. It's a place where the rules of nature seem to bend a little. Think about it. If you were a giant spider looking to beat the odds, where better to evolve than in an environment that offers perfect conditions? The Congo Basin's got everything a giant spider could want. Dense canopy, perfect for massive webs. Plenty of big prey. High humidity that could help with breathing. Endless hiding spots. And most importantly, vast areas where humans rarely venture. It's like nature created the perfect laboratory for evolution to experiment with size limitations. In this extraordinary environment, who's to say what's truly impossible? And speaking of what's possible, giant spiders aren't just a scientific puzzle. They've captured human imagination across cultures and continents for centuries. But that's a whole other story. Here's something fascinating. Giant spiders aren't just a Congo thing. These 8-legged giants have been starring in stories across cultures for centuries. It's like humanity had a group chat about scary spiders way before the internet existed. In Western pop culture, we've seen these massive arachnids come to life in characters like Aragog from Harry Potter, that massive 8-legged nightmare that lived in the Forbidden Forest, or Shelob from Lord of the Rings, proving that even Frodo's worst day involved a giant spider. But these weren't just made up from thin air. They drew inspiration from centuries of folklore. Jump over to Japan, and you'll find they've got their own giant spider stories. They tell tales of the Ushioni, a terrifying bull-headed spider, and the Tsuchigumo, the legendary earth spider. These weren't just campfire stories. They were part of Japan's rich yokai tradition, creatures that supposedly lurked in the shadows of ancient Japan. So what are we really dealing with here? A real creature that science hasn't caught up with yet? A case of mistaken identity, or something else entirely? The local Baka people of the Congo still maintain these creatures exist, describing them exactly as Sims did over a century ago. Brown bodies with purple markings, white eggs the size of peanuts, and an appetite for antelopes and large birds. The descriptions haven't changed in over 130 years. That's pretty unusual for a myth, don't you think? In a world where we think we've figured everything out, where we can map the entire globe from our phones, there might still be mysteries lurking in the shadows. And maybe, just maybe, somewhere in the depths of the African rainforest, a giant spider is weaving its web right now, laughing at our scientific textbooks. What do you think? Could the J'ba FoFi be real? Drop your theories in the comments below. And hey, next time you see a spider in your house, maybe be grateful it's not 5 feet wide. Don't forget to subscribe for more unexplained mysteries. Trust me, the rabbit hole goes deep with this one.